Hey, y'all, what's up? Coach Paul here. God has qualified me. This is Move Mondays, and you have greatness in you. Now, watch this. Before we start talking about that greatness, I need you to hear this. If you don't move, that person, those people, those places, those things, those thoughts, those ideas, or those ways, Coach Paul promises you this. They are definitely going to move you, and you don't want to move where they're going to move you to. All right, y'all, let's get going. I got a little nugget that I want to drop out there before I get into the content of today. And I just want to say this to all my listeners. Your strongest and greatest battle is not with the devil. Don't get it twisted. You do have to battle against him. He is real. And if you don't be watchful, he will come to devour. That's what the Bible teaches us. But your strongest battle is not against him. Your strongest battle and my strongest battle is against the old you, the old me, or our lower self. The greatest enemy to you and I achieving and walking in our greatness is the old or the lower you or me. Please get that in your spirit, because that is also true. We battling against something, and we continuing to lose in many cases. It's because let me put it like this. Michael Jackson said, what? He said, the man in the mirror. There you go. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's go. Now, my favorite book says, and my favorite book is the Bible. All righty. My favorite book says, many are called. Y'all know what the rest is? I'm going to stop right there because I want to talk about that today. And I want to say it like this. For all of us who are called on, if you don't position yourself to be called on, you're going to end up on call. And I'm definitely about to break this down. All right, I need some more water. A little dry today. I'm going to repeat that. If you're not, greatness puts us in a position where we are called on. We're supposed to be called on because someone else needs to see our greatness. And if we don't position ourselves to be called on, and I'll talk more about called on at the end, we're going to end up being on call. Now, let me break it down. So when you think about being called on, God called on many of us. I'm gonna talk about a couple of people in the Bible when and think about them from a perspective of they were called by God many years, right? Before they was actually living in that called on position or space. King David being one, his son Solomon being one. Think about Moses. God took him in the wilderness for 40 years, right? He was called on, but he really didn't start his ministry, until after those 40 years that he had to sit with God. Even Jesus didn't start his ministry till he was 30. All right. Called on. So in many cases, when we are called on, we're going to have to sit in an on-call type of position. And that on-call type of position is that one that shapes us, that molds us, that teaches us, that educates us, that readies us, that prepares us for the called on. Y'all better catch it. Sometimes, even being called on, God gonna sit us in on-call positions so that we can be shaped and molded, right? We need it. Because many of us, and trust me, I was guilty of that myself. Excuse me. I knew that God had called me. And I wanted what he called me to be instantaneous, microwave, right now. Let's go. Let's do it. You call me. Listen, equip me with everything I need right now to start right now today. And that didn't happen. That didn't happen. As a matter of fact, I'm still in some cases being taught, shaped, and molded in the on-call position. Somebody said it to me like this: you want this, but you want the easier, softer way, and there is none. God also said to me this when I started my recovery journey, because I want y'all to understand something as well. Recovery is calling us to the greatness that's been in us all along anyway as well. So in the beginning of my recovery journey, I had came to God and tried to bargain with him. Hey, God, because I had known enough about God and been in a relationship enough with God, even in the midst of some of the times that I was messy, that God showed his power in my life, right? Where I knew that certain situations didn't happen except for God. I knew it without a shadow of a doubt. So that faith piece and that called piece wasn't something that I questioned. So I remember when I first started this journey, I went to God and tried to bargain. I said, hey, God, I know you, been around long enough to know that there's nothing too hard for you. There's nothing impossible with you. And I'm just asking, like, all you got to do is say a word, snap your finger, shake your hand, blink your eye, whatever, and I'll be recovered. I can't make this up. This is the exact bargain that I try to make with God. And here is his reply, or here was his reply. He said, yeah, I can, but I won't. He said, for two reasons. I won't get the glory, number one. Number two, you won't learn nothing. So there is no elevator or escalator. You must take the stairs. And I said, okay. I submitted to it, and I've been taking the stairs for 2 months short of 11 years. All right. So, again, there's going to be some called on by God. The starting point is always going to be an on-call position. 100%, we have to do it. You're not going to get past it. So please submit and surrender to it. The second part of being on call is that you'll be in situations not from an arrogant standpoint or conceited standpoint that you know that you were called to greatness, that you know you have greatness in you and extraordinary potential. Not from being conceited or selfish. None of those things. But there are going to be some situations that people won't even recognize your greatness, and they'll treat you like you on call. They'll actually try to or be successful in putting you in on-call positions because they don't know your greatness and extraordinary potential. And that's okay, because watch this. Everybody ain't gonna know your greatness. Because maybe your greatness isn't supposed to be for that particular people. Somebody else's greatness has to come across them. Your greatness ended up there, and in those situations, for many reasons, and I'll get to the reason, one of the reasons why. But I just want to make sure that I reiterate and say this, that in many cases, you'll be that called on, and people don't know who you are. They'll put you in on call type of positions. Think about Joseph in the Bible. They didn't know who he was. Anyway, now let me get to the third part. And here's the one that, because we're not winning the battle over the lower self or the old us, we end up in this position. Now you are called on, but because you're not positioning yourself to be called on, now you're treating like the on call. Now you're being treated like the on call. Yeah, I said it. Called on, but because you're not positioning yourself to be called on, you're going to end up in some on-call positions. And I want to tell y'all from experience, it's not comfortable. It's definitely not where you're supposed to be. And if you in some on-call, watch this. If you're in an on-call position from that standpoint, and your spirit ain't being stirred up, and you're not being moved, that something ain't right, you're not in a place where you're feeling like this is not where I'm supposed to be, I'm uncomfortable, I don't like this. If you're not in that mindset, then something wrong. We need to have a talk. That's one of the reasons why I like doing these podcasts, these episodes, and having these conversations about these particular subjects, because this thing is a real thing. And how do I know? I've experienced it myself. That's one of the reasons why I'm talking about it. And I know that I'm not unique. And I want to help us. So let me say this again, then I'm going to go on to the good part. If you are the called on and you don't put yourself in position to be the called on, you're going to end up in the uncalled position. And it's not where you are supposed to be, my brother and or my sister. The fourth part, which is the good part. This is the part we all want. We want this, but we don't want to do the work to get here. But this is where we're supposed to be. Watch this, y'all. This is where you with your greatness, you with your extraordinary potential, me with my greatness, me with my extraordinary potential. This is where we're supposed to be. Watch this. Called on means we got a situation, we got a problem, we got a circumstance, we need a solution. Let's call Coach Paul. We got this going on. Let me call Eric Thomas. We got this going on. Let me call Joe. We got this going on. Let me call Johnny. We got a situation. I know who to call. Call Pete. That's called on. See, called on, when you position yourself to be called on, people know who you are. And when they have a problem, they know where to look for the solution at, because God has showed it to them. Trust me when I tell you that. That is what called on means. We all have to position ourselves to be in that place and in that position that when something is going on with somebody else, they know who to call on. That's what the called on are, y'all. That's what you and I have been called to. Because one of the things that I know for sure, if I don't know nothing else, is that God did not call us out of mediocrity so that he could put us back in it. God did not call us out of comfort zones so that we can go and live back in it. He didn't do that. He didn't call us out of ordinary so that he could put us back in it. He didn't do that. He called us up so that the world can see who he is through us and the greatness that he's put inside of us. The Bible says it. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. It can't get no more plain than that. It cannot get any more plain than that, people. So listen, many are called. Are you allowing yourself to be called on? Because if you're not, you're going to end up being on call. I promise you, y'all, it is not a good place to be. With that being said, the plane is landed. Let's have some conversations around that. I really want to have some conversations around this one because I know that some of you all out there listening to this can relate 100%. Let's see what we can do to get each other from being get each other unstuck. Help each other get unstuck so that we can move into the called on position. Because I promise you this, if you're alive, watch y'all, watch. If you're still alive, you are still being called on. With that being said, this is Coach Paul. I love every last one of y'all. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. Until the next time we meet, please be well, do the next right thing. God bless you all. Get yourself in called on position. And if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. I'll see y'all next week. Deuces.